training and skills to best effort. They were able to make the rescue. They were actually able to find, using a thermal imaging camera, were able to find the resident and bring her out safely. But we want you to know that it's your responsibility to keep yourself safe. We would encourage you to think about your own safety. And if you have a fire in your home, that you should get out and stay out. It rarely works well if you go back into a burning building, and take it from me, it rarely works well. So we would certainly urge you to have a plan to escape your home. You should practice that plan with your family at least twice a year. The more they are aware of it, the more likely they are to practice those safe measures. One of the things that we know from the fire service, that fires can double every 30 seconds, and you may only have 2 or 3 minutes to get out of the home. And so again, if you can get out of the home, we encourage you to get out quickly, and once outside, stay outside. You should have an exit plan, as I mentioned. You should go over that with your family, and you should have a designated meeting spot outside the home, in the front of the home, at the mailbox, or somewhere well away from the home. Again, practice that. If there are smoke conditions, then get low to the ground. The best air will be down by the floor, below the light plug, the electrical outlets. Below that level is the safest place for you. So get down, crawl if you need to, if the smoke conditions are thick. Get out quickly, meet at your meeting spot, make sure that everyone is accounted for, and then call 911. Many times the children will have found their way out, and if you'll go to your designated meeting spot, you'll find that children and others in your family have already made their way outside. So get outside and then call 911 from the safety of the outside of your home. And once you get out, again, stay out. I'd like now to introduce Chief Doherty. He's the Operations Chief for Hillsborough County Fire Rescue and was on the scene last night.
Thank you, Chief. Just to reiterate what Chief Jones said, please, once you get outside, stay outside. I was at the scene last night, and fortunately, this fire last night, we were able to make a rescue and retrieve the victim inside. But this victim on scene went back inside to retrieve some goods, and when she did, she became disoriented and lost in the smoke, and then quickly the smoke overcame her. As Chief Jones said, the fire grows very quickly, and many times faster than people will think, and that's what happened with this situation. Our crews got on scene and immediately knew they had a victim inside. The great part is they knew what part of the home she was in. They were able to get in with a thermal imager. She was not able to be located without the thermal imager because of the smoke being banked down so far down to the floor. She had collapsed before our crews got there. Our crews were able to our crews were able to get inside and make a rescue and get the homeowner out. At this time, we transported her to the hospital in stable condition, and as far as the updates I have as far as the patient goes. But just to kind of reiterate, the smoke conditions, they change very quickly. The heat changes very quickly. So if you get outside, stay outside. Let the first responders, let our firefighters, let our paramedics and EMTs get on scene and direct them to the part of the house where there may be a patient, and we'll do our best to get to them like we did last night. I want to commend our crews for an awesome job they did last night. They got on scene, they did the job they're trained for, and they did it very well. They rescued the patient, and we had a great outcome. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen every time, even though we do our best every time to make that type of outcome come about. If you have any questions about the fire last night, I'll be happy to answer them if I can. Other than that, please adhere to the message. If you get outside, please stay outside. Let the first responders, let the firefighters get inside and attempt to make any rescues, not only of victims, but pets, your property and what have you. We'll do everything we can to salvage that property and give you whatever memory keepsakes you have. So that's all I have.
Can you talk about the time frame and how close she was to maybe not getting into that house?
Well, I do know that our crews got in very quickly, made a quick recovery of the patient. When I say quickly, we're talking within a few minutes. She collapsed before as they were inside, they were able to see through the thermal imager. They could hear her screams when they first got inside. Eventually the screams stopped. They were able to see her on a thermal imager, which shows the outline of the patient. And they saw her collapse to the ground and were able to go in and make a rescue and pull her up.
I know you said that it's up to your own person to make sure that you're safe, but what responsibility do you think that neighbors or other bystanders have to make sure that other people don't go inside that house?
Well, collectively as a community, we got to educate ourselves and understand the importance of having meeting places, get with your families to come out, have that plan set so you come outside, meet in a certain location, talk to your neighbors. And witnesses are very important to help us understand who's there, who may not be there, and if we have trapped victims inside. So it is a community effort for sure.
How dangerous, can you talk about two things here? First, for those firefighters, how many went into the home, and when they went through the front door, right?
Yes, sir.
When they went in there, what did they see? I understand that there was, the roof was compromised, and then secondly, never mind, I forgot the second part, but just that, can you talk about that?
So our firefighters went inside. We had a crew and engine 11 out of Brandon. Engine 27 also was on scene, and the crews hooked up, went inside, made entry to the front door. Smoke was banked down to the floor. When I say smoke, thick black smoke where you cannot see your hand in front of your face. They made entry. They knew generally the location of where the victim may be. They were able to hear her screams, and then were able to locate her with a thermal imager. At that time, the fire had already what they call vented the house, so we already had roof collapse. So we had an active fire going in the attic that had already structurally damaged the house, where we had the roof collapse. Firefighters put themselves in harm's way, just as they do every day to protect the community. This time they made a valiant effort and came up with a fortunate save.
At what point does it get bad enough that you go, I'm sorry guys, we just can't let you get in there right now?
That becomes a challenge for every fire scene. A lot of it depends on the structural integrity. If we can get inside of the collapse, a lot of it depends on how much fire the whole building's engulfed or not. It also depends on the heat. So we're able to get inside when we have an active fire, but if there's too much fire, the suits we wear, the bunker gear we have, the air packs we have that help us breathe, they only tolerate so much heat. So we have to obviously stay low to the ground too. If we're 200 degrees or below, we can get inside, stay low, and make that a save or whatever we need to do. But the more fire, the less likely of survival, and kind of a case-by-case basis.
And if I could say on this particular call, because the lady was still calling out, we knew that she was breathing. She was, if she was able to be inside without any protection, we're gonna make an effort to make that rescue. And in this case, everything worked out. We were able to get to her quickly enough to pull her out, and she was still breathing at the time we found her.
On the heels of such a tragic event that happened in Tampa last couple weeks ago, the mother and the two children, are you still surprised that people would be willing to do that? Go inside a home?
So our focus is on not going back for material items. I don't believe I'm gonna be able to convince people not to go back in for their children. Let's be realistic here. I would just say the way to prevent your children from being trapped inside is through proper education and teaching them more than one way out of the house. Know where the windows are, know where the doors are, practice those drills. And then you won't be forced to be making that decision of whether I'm gonna risk my life to go back in to save my children. A decision I hope I never have to make. But let's be realistic, those things do happen. In this case, it was a material object. There is nothing material of value more important than a human life. So we're saying get out, gather at your safe place, and then let the firefighters do what they do.
Do we have a cause in that fire yet? Do we know? Anything?
I believe it's actually still under investigation at this point.
Is the husband okay? We understand he was outside. How was he reacting and acting?
We just had one patient transported. The other, if it was a husband, I'm not sure. They were in the backyard trying to put the fire out before we got there, with no injuries.
Any other questions? I think that's it.
Thank you.